What's up, boys and girls in the OCR world and in the regular world, too? My name is Philip Levi, and you are tuned into another episode of the Obstacle Order Podcast, brought to you by OCRM. That was hard to do. OCRM, Obstacle Course Racing Media, because they're awesome and we say so. So that's it. We are joined by I know I say that we have special guests a lot, but hot damn if we don't have a special guest. That was all like malarkey. I'm sorry to all my friends that I've interviewed in the past in the 164 episodes before this, except the ones with Eli. But man, we just keep getting better and better. We have, she's just kind of the real world Wonder Woman. She is a 4-time Olympian, the only woman to medal in winter and summer Olympics. And her name is Lauren Williams. So I'm going to shut up and I'm going to say hi, Lauren. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Well, Philip, thanks so much for having me on. Hi to all the listeners as well.
Hi back. I represent them while we're on air. They say hi.
Right.
So we have an audience of men and women who are either thinking about becoming very athletic, or they are already athletic, or they are just underneath the bar from becoming professional athletic. And in OCR is such a young sport. It's like you're a pro if you get races paid for, and you get like maybe free shoes. Not like if you're flying to Russia to compete against other people in the world, because we're not an Olympic sport. But you've got some people who they probably know who you are already, as many people in the world do, but just can you give us a rundown of just a quick who are you? You know, what makes you such a badass, Lauren?
Well, I'm a Great Dane owner. That is the most important part
That's
of
pretty great
who
too.
I am. Yes. So I'm born in Pittsburgh, raised between Pittsburgh and Detroit because my parents split up. Went to the University of Miami on a full track scholarship and wasn't super into track, but was super into education. And I felt like the least I could do to repay my coach for the opportunity of getting a free education was to work my butt off on that track. Because she thought that I had the potential to, be something and do something great. And that's really what led me to, seeing that I could have success and growing my competitive spirit and, this showing up and competing against some of the best in the country as a college athlete kind of really sparked something inside of me. And my junior year of college, I was just like, okay, I've made it to nationals my freshman year and I lost. I made it my sophomore year and I lost. Like, I'm getting to the front of the pack this year. I'm better than these girls. Like, I'm going to buckle down and do it. And so not only did I do it, but I ran the second fastest time in the world. So my goal was simply to win the national championship for college. I won the nationals, ran the second fastest time in the world, and immediately my life changed and I had to turn my focus to becoming an Olympic athlete.
Okay. So there's a couple things I want to unpack there. The first was that you were like, athletics, whatever. And then all of a sudden you're second fastest in the world. Let's just do the simple question first. The second fastest, is that in the 100?
In the 100 meters.
In the 100 meter.
I'm a sprinter, short and straight to the point.
Yep. That was your 10.88 time?
Yes.
And then how far? That was like a tenth of a second? Or 100th of a second behind? How far behind that was that?
Oh, the person at that time period? I have no idea what the time.
Okay. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares anyway?
Actually, to qualify that, in 2004, I was the second fastest person in the world so far for that year.
Yeah.
So, and then I went on to the national championships. I, got third place, went to the Olympics, and I got second again. So I was a faster second time fastest person in the world at that point, because she ran faster and I ran faster, if that makes any sense.
That does. It does. It's just the rising tide affects both of the ships, or all of the ships. Exactly. Yeah, the others behind you too, but we're not talking about that. Okay, so back to the first question, Lauren, is you were just kind of like, now when you joined the track team, this was in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I ran a little bit of middle school track. I wasn't super interested though. Just kind of like being out there for fun. Did it more in high school, but still not very serious. I did a lot more tanning than I did practicing.
That's awesome.
Showed up to the race and was, chasing boys at that age. And
So I have a question. I joined the track team. I mean, I almost went to the Olympics, and then I lied to your face just like this. No, I didn't. I joined the track team when I was a sophomore in high school, and I joined because there was a really cute girl who was a state champion hurdler. And I was like, "Hey, what's going on? I'm not getting too much class or hallway time with you. Maybe I'll join the track team." And our track team was small enough to where I could just walk on and kind of do my thing. Did you have a similar where you're like, oh, track, these guys are looking all right? Or
athletic boys, exactly.
Yeah.
It was very similar.
It's beautiful.
It wasn't a particular boy,
right?
It's definitely far more social than it was because I wanted to exercise and be great.
Yeah, this is. It's funny how we have different drives for athleticism and then Olympic greatness. It's like, well, I wanted to be around the guys, so here I am on the podium at the at one of the either Olympics. Take your pick, whichever one.
Right. Thanks, hormones. Right.
Right. Hey, they'll take us a long way, either up or down, depending on who's steering. All right. So you weren't really into track, but did you? I mean, you obviously got the bug somewhere. You were like, hey, this thing's working out. Let's see how far it can take me. Or when did that catch on?
Yeah, it was. Like I said, it was kind of like this budding sort of, over time. It was once I got to college for sure. And one thing that stands out to me is my freshman year, there was a set of girls that had beat me quite regularly, during my high school days, and they all went to the same school.
Uh-huh.
Well, the first track meet that I bumped into them, they had this long flowing hair, and they got makeup and nails, and they were the best in the country, and all this kind of stuff. They just had this very imposing kind of swagger. And I was just like, you know what? I'm done being beat by them. I've trained hard. I have a new coach. Like, this is going to be different. This is going to turn out different for them than it's turned out for the last 4 years of high school. And I whooped them.
Nice.
And they never beat me again, that set of girls.
So was that, had you been training harder, or was that part of your mindset that pushed you over the edge that just said, nah, it's not going to happen for y'all. It's going to happen for me?
Both. Definitely training harder. Like I said, high school, you had a high school coach. I think it was my social studies teacher. You just make it work in high school. But in college, this was what my coach's profession was. She had studied it quite a bit. She was tailoring workouts specifically to me. So yeah, night and day from where my performance went as a high school athlete that she saw potential in to just 1 year under her belt coaching.
That's great. That's awesome. So, all right. So moving on in your career, where now after high school you've got 5 world championships with 5 medals, or were the 5 world championships that I studied about only the ones that you medaled at, and the others were just kind of like whatever?
I have no idea. I couldn't honestly even tell you.
Because you have
I've been to a lot of world championships.
You have a staggering amount of accolades on your rap sheet, and it's just. Honestly, as an interviewer, I'm having trouble keeping them all organized. So I'm just going to say you're like the best of the best of the best. And
let's just roll with that.
Yeah, let's roll with that. So I know that you and guys and girls listening, this is like the Lauren Williams. You can Google her, Wikipedia her, and look at all of the blah 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 blah. There's a bunch of gold. There's a bunch of like little gold circles with G's behind her name on the so many events. I mean, you've been doing this for 20 years now. I mean, like just running, and maybe more. I'm just throwing that out there. And now I have a question about going from summer to winter Olympics, and then I want to go to the more current worth winning. I want to go to what your very respectable and successful business is. So if you're listening, keep listening because we're about to start talking about that. But before we do that, summer to winter, how'd that happen?
I ran into a girl in the airport.
Okay.
Very simple.
Okay. So,
I'm a big proponent of like when opportunity knocks, like bust open the door. Like you never know what's going to happen. You need to always be looking for right there. Exactly.
You guys listen to the podcast. You're going to have to watch the video now because I've got a big old mug of coffee with MCT oil in it to keep my brain firing, and it says hell yeah on it. So those of y'all in the video, you get that extra, and blah blah blah. All right, so you're a world freaking top of the top sprinter, and then you decide to go be a bobsledder.
Right. I run into a girl in the airport, hear the story, like, oh, you can try this. And oh, it's the Olympic year. And I'm like, I wasn't thinking Olympics. I was just thinking kind of like recreational, life after sport, something fun to do, try. And then a month later, I was at the last opportunity I would have had to begin the qualifying process. I got third, having never pushed a bobsled before. And the next 6 months of my life were ridiculous from all standpoints, from the steep learning curve to the teamwork that it took, to the awesomeness of each of the girls that I was hanging out with and that were teaching me everything, and definitely that silver medal that I earned.
Yeah. So tell me about the teamwork, because you were part of several 4x1 teams also, and then you're in a 2-person bobsled or a 4-person. 2-person.
2-person.
2-person. So you probably get pretty close to that person. Were you in? So one of my favorite Olympic movies is Cool Runnings. I'm sure you've seen it and you've heard it. People are like, "Oh, Cool Runnings!" Yeah.
It's all I knew about bobsled before I.
That's all a lot of us know about bobsledding here in the States, at least. Were you in the bathtub with your teammate practicing the turns on the track like they did in the movie? Did you guys ever do that? I just have to ask that question. Do you remember that?
We did it every day. That's what actual bobsled practice is. We just get in the bathtub all the time.
That's awesome.
No, we did not ever get in the bathtub.
I mean, it's like, all right, here's this kind of like a sled. And anyway, all right. Okay, so your first time bobsledding, you set like a track record. Like you just like rolled out of bed and you're like, oh, cool, track record, no big deal. Was that after like practicing, or did you just roll on? And was that a few months after you had already been, professionally bobsledding from?
Yeah. So the bobsled season starts around October, and the trials start in July. Well, as you can imagine, there's not very much snow or ice anywhere in the country in July.
Right.
So we have what they call ice houses where we do our practicing and all that kind of stuff. So that's where my initial tryout was that I mentioned earlier. And then you train together from July until October in various places. But you got to wait till the ice opens. And then the ice is open for maybe, I would say 3 weeks. Opens at the beginning of October and the first race is at the end of October. So there had been some practice, but not a whole lot of practice leading up to my first race.
Gotcha.
On the actual ice and then on the actual track. Yeah.
Did you find that when you're sprinting on ice with little spikes and you're pushing a sled? I don't know how much a bobsled weighs, but how much does it weigh?
400 pounds.
400 pounds? It's like pushing like an arcade game down the street or something like that. That's a lot of weight. Mm-hmm. Did you find that when you were practicing with your teammate, did you find like, oh, hey, I've got some badass workouts that can build power from 0 to whatever real quick? Did you find that you guys were incorporating your Summer Olympic workouts or your track workouts in order to build speed and power for pushing the bobsled? Or is it just...
I got really lucky. I had a pretty badass coach that was both a bobsled and a track and field coach. So, like I said, short learning curve. This was the colliding of multiple wonderful events that, this couldn't be anything other than like something divinely meant for me, because I met the track coach / bobsled coach a week before I was going to the bobsled trials. Completely different, didn't know him, hadn't talked to him or anything, just said like, oh, I'm going to these bobsled trials, because I had been talking to a different coach. Mm-hmm. So he's like, bobsled trials? And I was like, yeah. And he was actually my massage therapist. I got him laying on his massage table at the time. So he wore a lot of hats: bobsled coach, track coach, and massage therapist.
And roofer in the summertime.
Right.
Plumber, and tax specialist, and okay. All right.
But he's like, oh, I'm the coach of the bobsled team. I was like, no, you're not. Like, you're not the guy I've been talking to. Your name's Stu, and I've been talking to this other guy. And he's like, no, I'm the, he explains the whole thing about how there's multiple coaches, and he coaches the individual. So he had the sprint background and education, and was coaching the bobsled athletes on the sprinting part of it. And like I said, I ran into him a week before. He said, don't worry, I'll tell you what you need to know too. Yeah. So he had a really good background in knowing how to like take my body type, my area of expertise, and really like talk to me in a way that was going to get me to translate that into speed behind a bobsled.
That's great. Yeah. So you were doing kind of hybridized workouts that came from track because that's where your coach came from also. Is that
right?
Pretty fair, accurate? All right, cool.
Good summary.
All right. So you've got more medals than you know what to do with. And it's kind of, on your website on worth-winning.com, because worthwinning.com is actually still available, but whatever.
It's $10,000.
Okay, hyphen it is. Hyphen it is. 10,000.
You want to start a GoFundMe?
Yeah, right.
Worthwinning.com. I'm all for it.
Well, you know how to plan financially for that. That's for sure. All right. So on your website, worth-winning.com, you mentioned that athletes retire twice. And I stewed on that for a while, and it's probably right in front of me, but what does that mean?
Yeah. So, there is a point in your athletic career where you can't compete anymore. Or if you can compete, you can't compete professionally. And so this is the way that you make your living. And at some point, you will no longer make your living doing this, which is usually a very small window. The greatest of the greats have a 10-year window. And the average group mm-hmm. has, a 1.5 to 3 year window mm-hmm. of really being able to earn an income at this. And then you'll have to move on to something else. Mm-hmm. So there's this finite amount of time that you can do this, as there is a finite amount of time that you'll be able to work and earn a living in anything you do. So retirement number one for an athlete is when you can no longer compete in a way that's going to help you earn a living. And then retirement number two is just like for everyone else, where there's a point where you're just not physically able to work anymore.
Right.
And you've got to, you're still alive and well, and maybe you just don't want to work anymore, depending on what your situation is. You either work until you can't work, or you work until you don't want to work.
Right.
But that's retirement number two. So.
Okay, excellent. All right, so thank you. It was right in front of me. I definitely was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Duh. So Worth Winning, you're also a certified financial planner right now. And you started Worth Winning. How many years ago was that now?
About 2.5. So we turned 2 on April. So
right. Congratulations. Yeah. Fantastic. And why did you see the need to make this happen?
Well, there was a gap. And as an athlete, it's all about being able to kind of create a strategy around the thing that you think is missing, and, maximize your potential that way. Like what are the things that everyone else is not doing that I can do to make me great? In the same regard is like, what are the things that are not being done that athletes need and young professionals need that could help make them great? And I just saw that I didn't get the services I need. So I had 2 financial advisors during my career. Both of them were pretty crappy, sold me some products and, invested my money, earned a nice commission on it, didn't provide me with any basic financial advice. And so what I mean by basic financial advice is, setting up a budget, understanding buying a home. I didn't have any student loans, but those sorts of things that are the things that come into play for a young professional. You want to get married, and how much money should you set aside for that? Buying my first car, just the basic fundamentals that can make or break you,
right.
And make or break your long-term plan. How much should I be saving on a monthly basis? A lot of people's biggest mistake that they make is they save after they've done everything else. So it's like, oh, I paid this bill, I paid the rent, I paid the loans, Peter and Paul, and
I took my vacation, and then I'm going to save a little bit. It's like, maybe we should think about the vacation after savings.
Right, exactly. So yeah, it's like, oh, I only got $5 left to save. I don't understand why I can't save anything. And this idea of pay yourself first. So those fundamental principles I didn't learn from either of those advisors, despite paying them a boatload of money.
Right.
And I was asking friends, like, what are you doing? And do you have this SEP IRA? Because that's what he's telling me is for my retirement, but I don't understand how it works. And he doesn't really explain it to me. He talks down to me. And people are really sketchy about it. They're like, Lauren, like, don't you know you're not supposed to talk to people about money? And I'm like, but why? Like, I don't understand. Like, how I can't spend what's in your bank account or your paycheck or any of that. Like, and I'm just asking you about the strategy. Like, do you have a SEP IRA and do you know what it is? And then I just realized there's all these taboos and no one's super open. And the biggest thing that we're up against is this idea that we cannot communicate with one another about finances. And so you make a mistake, you're embarrassed about your mistake, you don't talk to anyone about that. And then that mistake festers and then something catastrophic happens. And not until we're in a dire situation do we reach out for help. Or if we're in a good situation and we're kind of all right, there's still some things we don't know and we wish we knew more about, but we're afraid to ask someone. And so how are we ever really to get to the top of the podium as it pertains to like living the life we want and being financially free if we don't have a plan and a strategy? I mean, it's just like sports. Like, how do you plan on winning a championship if you don't have a practice plan and a race plan? You know, like you just don't show up and go to the championship.
Well, a lot of people these days sometimes think they can't just show up, but I mean, you earn your trophies at practice and you pick them up on game day. That's kind of like that works on the field, on the court, and in the whatever financial columns or whatever you call the financial world also. So that's what you do now is you reach out to these professional athletes. And is it only professional athletes, or are you offering your services to just maybe college students? I mean, hell, they could use a lot of help these days because Uncle Sam is like, it's not good.
I mean, and that's the thing that I really decided, like, when you think of financial planner, financial advisor, you think investments or some crappy guy that sell you life insurance. So I don't sell products. I'm not going to sell you life insurance. I have the ability to invest on your behalf, but that is also, like you said, it's not a product. It's not a commission-based thing. Like, that's not how I get down. So what do I do? Like you said, I give talks at colleges and organizations and corporations, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And then I have a recent college grad pack. So like you get out of school and you're like, oh my God, I got my first job. I don't understand my 401k. I never made a budget before. I got this boatload of student loans.
Oh, cool.
And you just kind of need help figuring out like, where do I start with all this? So, it's a little short-term thing just to give you like good, unbiased advice on how to set yourself up, because you can't pay for a planner in a long-term, way at 21 or 22 years old.
Right.
And then I have a budgeting package. So we have plenty of people that, like you said, are living paycheck to paycheck, don't understand where their money is going. And I always say, like, if you don't tell your money where it's going, you'll always be wondering where it went. I'm sure somebody more famous said it, but I love it and I say it all the time.
And now you said it and you're famous, so it's even more important.
Boom. So yeah, it's really my thing. I'm now trademarking it.
There you go. Boom. Trademark. Copyright 2018. Obstacle Order Podcast. Leonard Williams Worth Winning -.com.
There it is. So yeah, budgeting package, and that's a short thing as well. Like get your bills and your finances, and get financially organized, basically, mm-hmm. and then maybe go off on your own. So I don't force people to have to work with me forever and ever, but I do have something for those people that are ready to work on a long-term basis with a financial planner to cover all aspects of your finances. So like, what do we say? Like, debt, understanding, are you properly insured? Like I said, I'm not going to sell you the insurance, but I'm going to say, hey, based on my analysis, you need this much insurance, and this is who you should call, and this is exactly what we need. Versus the insurance guy is going to say, you need $1 million of this, and you need that, and your premium's going to be $10,000 a month, and I'm going to make a boatload, but I'm not going to tell you that. Like, yeah, I'm just going to get you exactly what you need. Taxes, I coordinate with your accountant. Retirement, we're looking at your 401ks. If you're ready to invest above and beyond that, we can talk about it. Like, all things personal finance. And as life is happening, kids are happening, college funding is happening, like I said, weddings, divorces, whatever. You just call me. Like,
yeah, I like that you're building from the ground up, kind of brick by brick, and you have these personalized packages that, and looking over your website, you're speaking English. You're not speaking this semantical, or not semantical, but this like kind of esoteric language that you have to be another CPA or a financial analyst of sorts to understand. It's just like, hey, get your shit together, and here's how to do it. And we go A, B, C, D, and if you don't need C, then we'll take that out. We'll do A and B and D, and then we'll see how it goes. And I think it's a really valuable service that you are bringing to the market. I think it's very unique, and I think it's going to help a lot of people. And I think that because you have the credibility of being a certified financial planner, and also the forgive the pun, track record, and I guess a bobsled's on the track too, isn't it? The track record, I'll say it, of just having been there and having been jerked around by the traditional representatives of the the back of the back of that house, back of the office, backstage. But it's like, all right, I'm a professional athlete and I've made this money and woo, what do? I don't know. People, vultures circle, and it's important to have, your anti-vulture spray, and hopefully have someone like you, who is able to help these athletes who are really just kids, it's like, I haven't competed in anything like for a school in almost 15 years, yeah, we'll just call it 15 years, maybe more. Yeah, it's a round number. Anyway, okay, so we went over, and I know we're coming up on time here. It's going to be a nice, short, quick, precise episode of the Obstacle Order podcast today. We've covered your incredibly decorated career of both Summer and Winter Olympics, and your transition into your business now of Worth Winning. And is there just what is, what's your day-to-day like? Just real quick, 2 minutes. What's your day-to-day like? I mean, are you still at the track? Are you still running? Do you have are you into, we haven't even talked about OCR, but who cares? We can branch off. Are you into other sports, or what are you doing to stay fit?
Well, I'm trying to figure out what that looks like for me. So life after sport was a little bit tough. There was a period of sitting on the couch eating bonbons. Not exactly that, but whatever the equivalent of that is.
Bonbons are delicious.
Then there was a 20-pound weight gain. Then it was oh crap, I'm way too vain to be this fat. And then it was I'm a healthy individual. I've spent my whole life being athletic. I miss it, but I need to figure out how to do it kind of in a way that is, one, healthy, but two, also enjoyable for me. And so it's I've always known today is your day off, do nothing, or we're full force because we're trying to get to the Olympic Games. And so I've got to find out what that healthy thing is for me. So I'm trying all kinds of things. I've not been very good at my OCR life. So the rope kind of made me want to retire after my first opportunity and then trying OCR. But yeah, there's yoga. There's this crazy class where there's a bunch of old people, and I'm
watch out for those old people, man. They're nuts.
Awesome at it. And then the old people are really, really good at working out. So it's been very humbling, but also very good for getting fit. I do Orange Theory. You name it, I pretty much do whatever. So I am active. I am still looking for that thing that is my thing, and leading a healthy lifestyle. And yeah.
Well, let's connect more on social media. And I know a guy who writes programs for a living and has some awesome ideas as far as how to get people fit. But Lauren Williams, thank you so much for your time. Everybody out there in OCR world, you know where to find her. worth-winning.com. Words of wisdom, parting words of wisdom before my computer dies and before you're late for your appointment.
I would say, I'll send you a questions to ask when interviewing a financial planner sheet that you can add to the show notes, because I think that's really important for people. Is, I'd love for you to pick me, but if you don't pick me, know what questions to ask and pick someone. I'm a financial planner that has a financial planner, because money is emotional. And that's the thing that we all need to understand. It's hard to be objective with your own finances. And that's when somebody else can step in and say okay, this is really what you need to do, and help you create a plan. So yeah, hire a financial planner, a certified financial planner.
Certified. You heard it there. All right. Thank you so much, Lauren. It has been a magical 30 minutes with you, and hope you have a wonderful day. Everybody out there listening, thank you for tuning into this episode of the Obstacle Order podcast. We'll catch you out on the mountain, the road, or somewhere in between. Obstacle Order out.